the way that Roger Goodell spoke about Deshaun Watson on Tuesday.
Yeah.
They don't want him on the field on Friday night.
No.
They do not want him to play, and they are going to rig it. And look, rig sounds derisive. Again, it's part of good strategy and good lawyering.
Yeah.
They're going to come up with the best way possible to keep it from happening. They're going to put him in checkmate. When they make their next move, it's going to be checkmate. And it's going to be where they just knock everything. They're just going to throw the board against the wall. That's what the NFL is going to do.
Yeah, well, we've been saying this all along. That there's no way the NFL wants Deshaun Watson his face associated with the Shield right now. And I think, we're explaining that the NFL is going to do something here. The NFL, I mean, I'm with you in the fact that this is one where, this is Brady with 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the fourth quarter. They just don't lose these ones. I don't know what else to say. It really is. It's that type of thing. This is what the NFL does. They're extremely good at it. Of course, the bylaws of the CBA and everything there favor them as well, and we know that too. Plus, there's the powers that be in the NFL. They have just, what do I want to see? A tremendous reach with power in these type of arguments. I mean, we know that. These are, again, we've discussed this before, oligarchs that have, they got people on speed dial that we can't imagine. They're living in a world that we can't imagine as far as the power, the connections, the people they know that have power that, ultimately can get them what they want in a situation like that. And this is one that I look at that. There's no way I look at this and think, well, maybe the NFL or PA will figure out a way to finagle this and delay this or get Deshaun. I don't see that happening in this case. I think the NFL is adamant. And back to what you just said a second ago, I've been following football my whole life. And I know when I was 5 or 6, I wasn't really worried about what Pete Rozelle was saying or anything like that. But again, I'm somewhat of a historian here. I don't remember any time ever the commissioner talking that frankly about a player and basically saying what he said there, calling him out, breaking the 4 rules, within the NFL, and saying we think it should be a year-long suspension. I don't ever remember hearing that. I really don't. That's about as strong as it gets for a guy like Roger Goodell, who tries not to, I feel like go that hard all the time on a subject like this. So I think you're right when you say the signs are there, the dots are there, and people just need to connect them, and hopefully we're helping that out a little bit.
That's why I think there wasn't a press conference on Tuesday. That's why I was so stunned yesterday, because when I saw the quotes coming through late in the day on Tuesday, I thought, well, they did do a press conference. I'm impressed. I thought that this would be an occasion to not meet with the media because it's not the normal ownership meeting. It's for one very specific purpose, to approve the purchase of the Denver Broncos by the Walton Penner Group.
Do you think he wanted?
And I see that it was. Well, you know what it may be.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Did you think he wanted the intimate, little?
I know.
No.
I think his people didn't want him talking.
Right.
And I think when he saw the opportunity, it was yesterday. My thought was, well, the reporters kind of got him in a spot where he couldn't be a complete jerk and walk away, but he could have. I think he wanted to talk.
I do too.
I think he wanted to say what he was going to say. But Chris, and this is an item I'm going to write later today on PFT, I also think that the union is going to use his words against him. It was, I think, not wise to say as bluntly as he did that this was predatory and egregious behavior and there were 4 different violations. What you say then is what we always hear when something like this is going on. This matter is currently the subject of a legal proceeding. I will defer any comment until the proceeding has concluded. But you know what?
But what about does that hold true? If that's already been said by, Judge Sue Robinson, he used her language, right? So does that matter at all? I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah. It's not like he misquoted her.
Right. But he's the guy who decides who handles the appeal. He is part of the process. And look, if he was the one handling the appeal, I doubt that he would have come out and said it.
I don't know why he didn't.
Handed it off to somebody who's going to, because he's able to give it to somebody who's going to do exactly what he wants to do.
I guess so.
He's able to create enough of a buffer where he can say, I didn't do it. I've washed my hands of it. I've just instead given it to a guy that is going to do exactly what I would have done. And
I know.
I don't know how they're going to be able to get any traction with it, but I think they're going to use it. I think they're going to find a way to use it against him. And it would have been better. It would have been better to just say nothing. But this is where you balance legal questions versus the importance of PR. And from the perspective of PR and all the people out there, I mean, look, you got Browns fans that are screaming, this is unfair, this is rigged, this is this. Everybody else is like, throw the guy out for a year. We had a poll on Twitter last week of 4 different options of how long he should be suspended.
Yeah.
6, 8, 12, and full season. Of those 4 options, which one do you prefer? And full season was 71%. 71%. So you get Browns fans out of the picture, and everybody else is saying, what are we even talking about? Nonviolent sexual assault. He was preying upon these massage therapists. He was using his status. I think that's something. When we see the written ruling from Peter Harvey between lying to the investigators and using his status as an NFL starting quarterback as the opening for these sessions, and even though it's only 4, as I've said before, Chris, everybody knows it's 24 who sued him. Everybody knows it's at least 66 different people he did this with. You're not getting a pass. Yeah, they can't use that as evidence, but they know about it. That happens all the time. That happens all the time. Judges have the 4 corners of what they're allowed to consider. And then there's all this other stuff that they know, that we all know. And you say, I didn't base my decision on it, but you did. You're human. These aren't robots. These aren't calculators. This isn't an algorithm. These are human beings. And Peter Harvey knows damn well that there were 24 cases. And look, Chris, the other thing, too, I asked the NFL what involvement did Peter Harvey have with the Deshaun Watson case before he was designated to be the appeal officer, and they said none. I say baloney. He's part of the team. He's part of the committee. He's part of the advisors. You think he wasn't privy to what the commissioner thinks about this? You think somebody didn't ask him, the guy who helped write the policy, whether or not nonviolent sexual assault is sexual assault? Are you kidding me? So
that's where I get back to Mike. Like something.
Anyway,
yeah, okay. Sorry.
It's Browns fans are the vocal minority.
Well, they're biased, of course.
Everybody else,
yeah.
and I feel bad for them because their team put him in the spot where they have to
exactly.
be. Everybody else is saying, get him out of here for a year, and I think it's just a matter of time. Hours, as you say, before he's out of here for a year.
I would think so, and you know, I'll second those sentiments. You're right. You look on social media, you look on comments behind, you know, underneath an article. It's 10 to 12 to 1 of, you know, get him out of here. Why is he ever allowed to play? And then occasionally you have that person who makes a comment like who doesn't understand, you know, the CBA completely, and they just don't get that aspect. But you're right. I think public sentiment, anybody you talk to that's following this or following the league, I don't think anybody wants to see him out there. That's where I get back to something. I believe I brought it up last week when we were out in Canton. Maybe it was right before we went to Canton. It was the week before. This one is one where I'm a little shocked that maybe Roger Goodell isn't the guy making the decision here. I think it's so big, this one. Why leave it to, you know, Steve? I wanted to call him Steve Harvey, Peter Harvey. Why leave it to him? I know you don't want to look like the bad guy, but like you just kind of explained, who are you going to look like the bad guy to? Cleveland Browns fans? I think the rest of the world would have been like, hey, good that Roger Goodell, the leader of the league, is the one putting his foot down and stopping this. And I don't know, maybe he wouldn't have to be so nervous about, is this going to go or unfold the way I think it's going to unfold? Unless, you know, like you're saying, they know. And it's all, you know, a coup d'etat, which was one of my favorite phrases of last week. Maybe it is a coup d'etat. I don't know. But I do go back to that. I know.
Chris, if I were wearing a black robe instead of my black official PFT one-of-a-kind quarter zip, the Thursday uniform,
we're
which,
matching.
by the way, I took to Canton and Ward in Canton. You didn't even notice. You didn't even notice.
I did notice.
I brought this thing.
I did notice.
All the way to Canton. Well, you didn't say anything about it.
I know.
So,
I did.
Anyway, this is, we talked earlier about how Deshaun Watson's presence at practice and all the autographs is kind of a subtle middle finger at the NFL, and announcing on Wednesday, when there was no requirement to do so, that he's going to start on Friday night, and creating a news cycle featuring Deshaun Watson playing for the Browns. That's another middle finger. The ultimate middle finger is coming from the plain language of the collective bargaining agreement that the league and the union agreed to, And that's why if I was wearing the black robe and the union came into court, because there are people connected to the union that think that their cases are going to be stronger now because you've got an independent officer and you're going to disregard her conclusions on appeal, and there's something inherently wrong with that. Why did you agree to it then? That's what I would say. Why are we even here? We had litigation up the wazoo with Tom Brady and Ezekiel Elliott. So when you had an opportunity to sit down at the bargaining table and negotiate changes to the procedure with the league, you agreed that there would be an independent party who gathers the facts and makes an initial determination, and that the determination, not the facts are binding, but the determination of how the personal conduct policy applies to those facts would be subject to appeal as handled by the commissioner or his designee. You agreed to that. And I think part of the flex here by Roger Goodell is to say, I'm just doing what you gave me the power to do. You gave me the power to handle the appeal or designate it to someone. I'll choose to designate it to someone. And the least common denominator fan out there that doesn't pay much attention, they'll think, well, okay, he's handing it off to somebody else. He's willing to roll the dice here. He's willing to let somebody else handle it. Yeah, but it's not somebody who's independent. It's a guy who's beholden to the league. It's a guy who helped draft the policy. It's a guy who advised on the Ezekiel Elliott case. It's a guy who's handled multiple arbitrations for the league, and you don't keep getting that work if you're not giving your client what they want. And again, look at Peter Harvey's online bio. First item, former New Jersey Attorney General. Second item, works with the NFL.
Yeah.
It's a selling point. He doesn't want to give up that relationship. He doesn't want to jeopardize that relationship. He knows what Goodell wants, and he's going to give it to him.
Yeah.
So to those out there that don't pay a whole lot of attention, who obviously aren't watching this show, but to help those who are watching the show have conversations with someone who may ask them the question, what's going on here? What's going on here is it's all rigged. It's all rigged. And I mean, it sounds derisive, but it's accurate. It's all pre-baked. It's all strategically engineered. It's all rigged to give the NFL what it wants. And the union agreed to it. There are plenty of people that criticize the union for all sorts of things that I think are misguided. This is an area where the union can be fairly criticized. And I know they were dealing with a lot of crap in early 2020, trying to herd cats, trying to get players interested, trying to get players to give a crap about what was going on. I understand it. But this thing here, this notion of, oh, hey, we got an independent party. Yeah, but you still let the commissioner control the appeal. What the hell were you thinking?
Yeah.
That's what I would say in court.
Yeah.
If they came to me, I'd say, why are we here? You agreed to this process. The process was followed. Get out of my courtroom and let me focus on actual disputes that haven't been agreed to by the parties, that they've got some other way of resolving it without me being involved.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.